So here it is, the Bandit overview, the newest playable survivor in Risk of Rain 2. This isn't going to be a guide on Bandit, that will come very later because I haven't really played a whole lot of the Bandit yet. But I will be giving my opinion here and there about how good I think his abilities are and certain items that might be good on him. So think of this as a precursor to the guide. Alright, first up we have Bandit's passive, Backstab. All attacks from behind are critical strikes. This is easily one of the strongest passives in the game because all you have to do is go behind an enemy and you get the equivalent of 10 Lensmaker's glasses. So you can already see the Bandit is a DPS powerhouse. Next we have his primary abilities, which actually have an alternate skill as well. His first is Burst. It is a primary. It's kind of like a shotgun. You shoot the bullets in a line. You fire a shotgun burst for 5 times 100% damage, 5 being the pellets, and can hold up to 4 shells. These shells reload individually, so you'll be putting one in at a time at a 0.5 second per shell, meaning that technically you could just keep firing and holding down the button, although this will hurt your DPS in the long run. Just let it reload. His alternate primary, Blast, is kind of like a rifle rather than a shotgun. I think it was supposed to be a little bit more accurate version of the Burst, but it really doesn't seem that way in practice. Basically, you fire a rifle blast for 330% damage. You can hold up to 4 bullets just like you could hold shells for Burst. So for your initial primary, Burst, you're trying to hit all 5 bullets and you'll get more damage if you hit all 5. Whereas if you miss them often, then you're getting more damage out of the blast. Problem is, you don't really miss that often. It's actually fairly accurate to have the Burst. It's not like Captain. So for right now, I think the Burst is the better primary, even if you do end up unlocking Blast. Which, by the way, we have a video about that. Alright, moving on to a secondary, we have Serrated Dagger and Serrated Shiv. Serrated Dagger is a melee ability, while Serrated Shiv is actually ranged. They both share a 4-second cooldown, a 1.0 proc coefficient, and both cause hemorrhaging if you get a critical strike. The main difference between the two is that the Serrated Dagger, the initial default ability, has a 360% damage, while the Shiv has 240%. Also, a little bonus is the Serrated Dagger can do AoE damage in melee range. But the Serrated Shiv can only hit one monster, meaning that if you do go for the Serrated Shiv, you don't want to be in melee range, then you will lack AoE damage. And I guess I should explain what the F hemorrhaging is. Hemorrhage deal 2000% base damage over 15 seconds, and hemorrhage can stack. Think of it as a bleed, but it can only occur on both of your serrated abilities and only if you crit. So with your passive on Bandit, if you backstab them, then you will instantly get a critical hit, so you'll get a hemorrhage stack. And also, if you just have, 100% crit or you get lucky, then you will also be able to get a hemorrhage stack. Alright, and we move on to the Bandit's utility, Smoke Bomb. Smoke Bomb has a 6-second cooldown, a 1.0 proc coefficient, and deals 200% damage, allows you to become invisible, and then will deal 200% damage again after a couple of seconds. This is Bandit's main way of being able to get behind enemies and actually use your passive, your insta-crit when you're behind them. Without this, it's really hard to hit your Serrated Dagger and your Serrated Shiv in the back. Also, this isn't noted in the description, but if you jump and then use the ability, you can kind of use it like a Hapu Feather, where you're just jumping in the air. It applies momentum is what I'm trying to say, and after a couple of seconds, the ability will do it again and push you in the air even further. Granted, you have to be in the air for this to occur. If you're on the ground, you won't be pushed up. So hopping before you use the ability is the way to get aerial. Also, using a special, which we're going to talk about here in a second, allows you to actually juggle in the air with the Bandit. So not only will you be invisible, but you'll also be above the ground. It's kind of like Huntress with brain stocks. You're allowed to just sit in the air as long as you want without having to worry about any of the ground enemies. Alright, and finally let's talk about the Bandit's special. He has 2. First one being Lights Out, and the second one being Desperado. Lights Out has a 4-second cooldown, a 1.0 proc coefficient, and has the Slayer tag. Slayer just means that deals up to 3 times damage against low health enemies. So the lower their HP, the more damage it'll do. It fires a revolver shot for 600% damage and kills reset all of your cooldowns. In other words, if you are reloading your shells in your rifle and you use Lights Out to kill something, then all of your shells will be reloaded. Likewise, if you were using Smoke Bomb and it's on cooldown and you use Lights Out to kill something, that will then reset the cooldown. Now, Desperado is basically the same ability, a 4-second cooldown, a 1.0 proc coefficient, has Slayer, but this time it fires a shot for 600% damage, same damage, but kills grant stacking tokens for 10% more Desperado damage. That means for every kill you get with Desperado, every last hit on an enemy that you get with Desperado, you will get 10% more Desperado damage. Now, if you're just there creaming in your pants because you hear this, oh my god, I can stack so much, it's going to be so broken. Alas, that's what I thought, and it doesn't work like that. It actually resets every stage, so you could get 2 million kills on stage 1. Once you go to stage 2, all of it's reset. Kind of a letdown and makes it a pretty bad ability, at least compared to Lights Out. Lights Out gives you a reset on all of your cooldowns. This kind of just gives you more damage if you don't leave the stage. Alright, now that's basically it for all of his abilities. Do I think that Bandit is pretty strong? This is a question that's come up a lot recently, and yes, I do. I do think that the Bandit is a strong character. In fact, I would say he's stronger than his modded version. I didn't think his modded version was really that great, but the abilities that they changed were pretty good. Like I said at the beginning, I haven't played a lot, so I can't give him a definitive spot on the tier list. Also, I haven't tried a lot of the other survivors either, so I'm not really sure where everyone stands right now, but I definitely think that the Bandit is at the top of the pack. Most likely above Acrid, but definitely above Commando, Mercenary, and Artificer. The main problem I find with the Bandit is the fact that he doesn't really have any AoE outside of his serrated dagger. Sure, Smoke Bomb is technically AoE, but you also have to be in melee range for that anyway. And it's also pretty lackluster damage, only 200% damage. But the fact that he gets a free 100% crit from the back, which is pretty easy to get to if you just use Smoke Bomb and go behind very, very slow enemies like Stone Titans. And if you're pretty skillful with the character and you can use your Lights Out very effectively, you can effectively be nearly unkillable. I will say the Invis is a little wonky. I don't know what it is, but it feels like as soon as I pop out of Invis, I'm immediately hit. So it feels less like invisibility and more like the enemies are just taking a quick break. But other than that, I think he's a pretty good character. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. If you were asking me what build you should actually run on Bandit to be the most effective, for him to be the best that he could be, I think you should run Burst, his initial primary, his default. Serrated Shiv, his alternate secondary. I don't think these two really matter that much, but I think Serrated Shiv is better if you go later in the game. And then, of course, use Lights Out, his default special. That's what I think is the best right now. I don't know if anyone agrees with me or not, but if you do, make sure to leave it in a comment or something. Anyways, I'm up out of here. If you want to know how to unlock all of his alternate abilities, Desperado, Serrated Shiv, Blast, whatever, then go check out the other videos. I have them up, I think, by now. Anyways, thanks for watching and good night. Oh, yeah, I got you. Okay. So here's Bandit. He likes long walks on the beach. And also fucking your beach. His primary skill, he go pow, 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 pow. It's like a shotgun. Look, pow, pow. Pow, 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 pow. He only gets 4 though. And although it looks like I'm shooting very fast, it's actually pretty slow because I've got like a bunch of drugs and I'm like in a god run right now. But his second skill, Serrated Dagger. Look at this. It's really cool. I'm gonna grab this real quick. I'm gonna need this for later. But I'm gonna do this. So it's really cool because if you go behind someone, you can just proc this one thing over and over and over again. And there's 4. It's not gonna do that much damage to Newt, but it's a lot of damage, honestly. Newt's just tanky. And then it's like a melee skill, so it kind of sucks normally, but hey. And then his utility, Smoke Bomb, you go Invis. And then his special, you shoot for 600% damage, and if you get a kill with it, you reset all of your cooldowns, so you can go Invis again. Nice.